Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at some very fun battles in the Open Master League featuring a very spicy core of TAPU BULU and my perfect IV Shadow Tyranitar. Now TAPU BULU being a grass and fairy type Pokemon and Tyranitar being a rock and dark, these two do complement each other pretty well, so I paired them up with a Dialga on the save switch, and while it's definitely not a team I'd recommend for climbing, I was able to have some pretty nice results with it. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out BULUtar in action in the Open Master League. Hopping to the first match, picking up a terrible lead, TAPU BULU into Dialga. I'm going to immediately save switch into my own Dialga, and my opponent is not switching out. In that case, I'm just going to go straight for the Iron Head. I'm hoping my opponent no-shields this, as if they do and stay in, then I can guarantee switch advantage. But my opponent is actually going to bank the energy for later and send in Mewtwo. They've done enough chip damage to the Dialga that they can probably just Side Strike here, and they're looking to overfarm in exchange for a shield. So they do commit a shield, they massively overfarm, but I am not going to send TAPU BULU in. I'm going to be sending in the Shadow Tyranitar to make their energy absolutely useless. Mewtwo builds up to the Focus Blast, but most Mewtwo these days are double legacy, so I'm not going to shield it. They are at the back-to-back Side Strikes, which is totally fine with Shadow Tyranitar having the Dark subtyping. I get the farm down in the back. They have Kyogre. In comes TAPU BULU, which will be answered by the Dialga. Dialga did lead with a lot of energy here, and they're going to be firing off the Iron Head. Now the question is a double resisted Grass Knot going to be enough to KO here? I'm firing off the Grass Knot. Opponent is going to shield up the Dialga. I'm farming up, and I'm going to have to give up my final shield. If I can get rid of the Dialga, I should have this game won. I'm going to overfarm slightly, and then go for the Grass Knot. Again, this is double resisted damage. Is this going to be enough to KO? Dialga hangs on with 1 HP, but TAPU BULU gets the farm down. Back in comes Kyogre, but Kyogre has no shields remaining. This Grass Knot will hit for big super effective damage. Kyogre continuing to farm, switch into the Tyranitar, and snipe with the bite. Moving into the next match, and TAPU BULU sees a terrible lead as it leads into Metagross. Immediate save switch into Dialga, and my opponent is not switching out. Honestly, that works pretty nicely for me, as Dialga is the best response to Metagross on this team. So my plan is, I'm just going to double shield Dialga, because Dialga can actually do very well against Metagross in the 2-shield. As you can see, from resisted fast moves, the Metagross is already below half health. I continue to farm with the Dialga, but I will get outpaced. I'm going to be shielding here. My opponent goes for another Meteor Mash bait, and now they send in Rayquaza. Unfortunately, the Rayquaza is a bit laggy as it's brought in. I'm going to fire off the Iron Head. Iron Head does get shielded. Rayquaza is going to be forced to go for the Breaking Swipe here to get rid of Dialga. But Dialga is able to hang on. I save Dialga for later and aggressively switch into the TAPU BULU. TAPU BULU able to make the Dazzling Gleam before they're able to make it to a Dragon Ascent. Dazzling Gleam will KO. Opponent can send back in the Metagross here. Metagross did take a lot of damage though. In comes the Metagross. Metagross farming up, and they will throw just before TAPU BULU makes it to the Grass Knot. I do have some residual energy on the Dialga, but it's very low. In comes the Dialga. I cannot make the move, and suddenly things are looking a little rough. T-Tar gets the farm down, and in the back, the exact Pokemon I needed to see. The opponent has a Giratina altered. Giratina will fire off the Dragon Claw. Shadow Tyranitar able to withstand that damage. Tyranitar continuing to farm. Again, a little bit of lag there, able to make it to the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing gets the Giratina low, and T-Tar takes the win. Moving into the next match, leading TAPU BULU into Giratina. I have two better counters in the back, so I save switch into Dialga, and my opponent is going to respond with Excadrill. Now, Dialga is able to win the Zero Shield, but the unfortunate thing is that Exca just shields, and they can leave this matchup with an absolutely massive amount of energy. The good news is I baited out the Exca, but this Exca is going to have so much energy to throw at the TAPU BULU. Exca is going to get the farm down. In comes TAPU BULU. TAPU BULU will be able to withstand multiple Rock Slides, which is quite nice. They're going for Rock Slide number 1, continuing to farm with the TAPU BULU, and they're going for Rock Slide number 2. Again, I am going to no shield, and I'm just going to be going for the Grass Knot as soon as I get there. Again, the game's stuttering a little bit as I fire off the Grass Knot, and Grass Knot will get the KO. In comes Giratina. In the back, it's a Dialga. Wait, this is winnable. Farming up with the T-Tar. Dialga will strike first with the Iron Head, and I'm going to commit the shield. I'm going to look to overfarm here with the T-Tar. Can I potentially get a farm down? Deciding against it, going for the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing is going to force a shield from the opponent, and now I can look for the farm down, and I should be able to get it. All I have to do is shield here. I'm very close to another Brutal Swing, and I just need to land the Brutal Swing onto the Giratina. In comes the Giratina. I'm very low with the T-Tar, but I'm firing off this Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing connects. Big damage. T-Tar looking for the farm down. They leave with 1 HP and a charge move. You've got to be kidding me. Giratina KOs with a Shadow Ball, and we lose a heartbreaking game. Picking up a great lead in the next match, TAPU BULU versus Dragonite. Opponent is going to save switch into Mamoswine. I'm going to stay in with the TAPU BULU and fire off the Grass Knot. This will hit for massive super effective damage, so my opponent will need to commit a shield, and now I'm going to send in Tyranitar. They have high horsepower. That would easily one-shot, but I'm feeling brave. I call the bait, and it's the Avalanche. That is a massive call. Now I should just be able to shield once, bite all the way down, and leave with energy to threaten whatever my opponent sends in. T-Tar looking for the farm down, but the Mamoswine gets new mechanic on 1 HP, and they're able to make the last second Avalanche. That is extremely unfortunate, as now I'm down a shield. My opponent is going to send in Excadrill, and oh boy, this is going to be interesting. I fire off the Brutal Swing. That does a massive amount of damage. Exca is going to get the farm down, but they took a lot of damage to do so. In comes TAPU BULU. They're firing off a charge move here. It is the Rock Slide, looking for the switch into Dialga, and they send in Dragonite. Dragonite will have to go for the superpower to get the KO here. I'm firing off this Iron Head into the Dragonite. Dragonite is going to commit the shield. Continuing to farm up with the Dialga. Dialga gets the Dragonite low. Dragonite will be able to secure the KO with the superpower. In comes TAPU BULU. TAPU BULU will be hit with a debuffed superpower here. This is honestly going to do some damage. TAPU BULU extremely low, able to make it to the Grass Knot. This will KO the Dragonite. How healthy is the Exca? In comes the Excadrill. It gets KO'd, and BULU takes the win with 1 HP. We've got a battle of spice in the next match, TAPU BULU versus Terrakion. Terrakion is staying in this lead matchup, which is honestly pretty nice for me. They're going to be firing off Rock Slide. Terrakion does have a pretty nice attack stats, so Rock Slide is going to hit very hard. I end up waiting a turn there to make sure that my opponent isn't able to catch the Grass Knot, and Grass Knot will be shielded by the Terrakion. Continuing to farm up with the BULU, opponent goes for a switch into Meloetta. Now, Meloetta is taking massive super effective damage from the bites. Meloetta firing off a charge move. It's the Thunderbolt, and that does a lot of damage. Farming up with the T-Tar. T-Tar goes for the Brutal Swing. I did not know T-Tar lost CMP to Meloetta there, and that is a definite mistake by me. Honestly, I was pretty confident T-Tar would win CMP there, and it turns out T-Tar definitely does not. I get the farm down with the TAPU BULU. I have energy in the back. It is Yveltal. I'm firing off this Dazzling Gleam. Dazzling Gleam, big damage. We switch into Dialga, but my opponent gets to send in Terrakion. And Terrakion, that double kick and Sacred Sword combination is absurdly strong. I continue to farm up with the Dialga. Dialga is going to fire off the Iron Head. Iron Head would, of course, easily KO the low health Terrakion, so they're forced to commit the shield. And this is a tough call to make here, as again, there's a little bit of lag. These sets were definitely lag-filled. My opponent has the back-to-back Sacred Swords, however, and Sacred Sword is going to just about get rid of my Dialga. In comes BULU, farms down Terrakion. In comes Yveltal, and TAPU BULU again with these low HP survives, makes the Grass Knot, and secures the victory. Picking up a slightly negative lead in the next match, TAPU BULU into Mewtwo. Two better responses in the back, so I'm going to save switch into Dialga. My opponent is staying in here with the Mewtwo. Mewtwo farms up to the Focus Blast, but I just really don't like to respect Focus Blast on Mewtwo because the vast majority of Mewtwo's I see are going to be double legacy. I go for the Iron Head, but my opponent ends up switching into a Dragon Tail Groudon to make a catch. I'm farming up with the Dialga. Groudon is going to be firing off the Fire Punch here. Dragon Tail, pretty interesting moveset on the Groudon there. I'm going to send in TAPU BULU. The nice thing is the Dragon Tails are double resisted here, but the Fire Punch is going to hurt. Groudon has a pretty insane attack stat. Fire Punch absolutely rocks the BULU. BULU gets the full farm down here, leaving with 100 energy. Opponent sends in Zacian, and that's exactly what I need here. as Zacian would absolutely crush my Tyranitar, but they end up switching into Mewtwo as I fire off the Grass Knot. Grass Knot will be shielded, and I'm incredibly happy they shielded the Mewtwo, because I can descend in Tyranitar. They've already showed me that they're probably not running Focus Blast, so I really do not have to respect it. They make another charge move on just a fraction of HP. Side Strike will connect. Back in comes Zacian. Zacian farming up a ton of energy. Tyranitar making it to the Brutal Swing. This is resisted, but the Zacian has to shield as they are rapidly running out of HP. Zacian continuing to farm, and at this point, I can just finish the game with my Shadow Tyranitar. This is one of my favorite Pokemon to play in the Master League, and to add insult to injury, we get the catch onto the Tapu BULU. It's the Wild Charge, and Tyranitar farms down. Picking up a decent lead in the next match, Tapu BULU versus Zacian. This is where I want to see Zacian on this team, and this Zacian is running Snarl as well, which is quite nice. I'm farming up with the Tapu BULU, building up to the Dazzling Gleam, and going for the Grass Knot. Ideally, I am going to want to go for the Grass Knots here, because Dazzling Gleam is not enough to one-shot. Opponent is going to Sage Switch into their Dialga, and I'm going to respond with my own. I'm just going for the Iron Head here. Again, I could build up to the Draco, but they have a pretty big energy lead, so Iron Head is going to be no-shielded, and now, if I want to, I can shield once and farm down. Unfortunately, the Zacian does have loaded energy, which is a bit awkward for me here, as unless they choose to overfarm, I'm not going to make my Iron Head. My opponent, thinking about it, they are going to be sending back in the Zacian, and very nice counting as they're able to go for a Snarl and deny my energy with the Close Combat. Close Combat will be lethal, but I do have BULU in the back. It's a Mewtwo, and it's time for Shadow Tyranitar to feast. Tyranitar absolutely shredding the Mewtwo. I'm going to let this through. Again, it is never the Focus Blast. They're going for another Side Strike, but that's just not going to matter. T-Tar in a great position here, getting rid of the Mewtwo, and all they have left is the Zacian. Zacian firing off a charge move here. It's the Close Combat, and now with 2 shields, I believe my win con is just going to be to farm down. So I'm well over 100. I'm just looking for the farm down, and the opponent resigns the match. A tough lead returns in the next match, Tapu BULU into Dialga. Immediate save switch into my own Dialga, and my opponent is staying in this matchup. That's fine by me, and they're actually doing the play that I typically do, which is just go for the Iron Head, hope the opponent no shields, because that way you can just shield once yourself and get switch advantage. I shield, I'm massively over farming, and I'm going for an Iron Head of my own. My opponent is going to commit the shield. They do not want to give up switch advantage, but my plan is just to double shield and farm them down. I need switch advantage here. I'm looking for the farm. Opponent saves their Dialga for later, and they send in Zacian. Honestly, this is perfect. I need to bait out Zacian. My T-Tar cannot face it, but the switch timers are so misaligned that I can now send in Tapu BULU. Let's see what they're running. Opponent is running Play Rough, and that deals massive damage. I think I'm only getting to 1 move, so I actually decided to go for the Dazzling Gleam. Typically, in Shields Up situations, I would just go double Grass Knot, but in this case, I'm just trying to get as much damage as I possibly can. They're firing off a charge move here. They go for the Close Combat, and suddenly, I see a win con. They're debuffed. I think I can farm down with the T-Tar here. I'm going to send in the T-Tar. T-Tar looking for the farm down, but it's not to be. Zacian makes the Close Combat. I get 1 shot in the back. What do they have? It's a Giratina, and if I get that farm down, I win that game. Hopping into the final match, and Tapu BULU cannot catch a break as it leads into Ho-Oh. I save switch into Dialga, but this is still not a great matchup. I'm going to be shielding up the Sacred Fire here, and let's see, do I get debuffed? I do not. That is incredibly fortunate. My opponent is going to send in their own Dialga. I farm up a massive amount of energy, baiting with the Iron Head, and my opponent commits the shield. I'm trying to make it to the Draco Meteor, and I get there. My opponent could have thrown an Iron Head, but instead, it looks like my opponent is just looking to go for the 2-shield farm down play, but at this point, I'm okay with that. My Tapu BULU can do nothing against the Ho-Oh, so my plan is just to fully sacrifice the BULU. They have so much energy here. They're fired off the Iron Head. Tapu BULU able to tank 1, and they're throwing the back-to-back moves. I just need to trust in Shadow Tyranitar to 1v3 in this game. Tyranitar looking for the farm down, gets the farm down. Dialga doesn't make the move. In the back, wait. They have Shadow Lugia. This game seems winnable. They're going to be firing off the Sky Attack. My HP is rapidly diminishing, so I will commit the shield. I'm looking to overfarm as much as possible with the T-Tar, going for the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing should be lethal, and then they're going to be sending in the Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh trying to make it to the Brave Bird, but T-Tar says no, making it to the Stone Edge. Hello, Ho-Oh. Goodbye, Ho-Oh. And that's a Tyranitar 1v3. All in all, I had an absolute blast getting to run this team. The Master League is definitely the most difficult league to get Pokemon for, but once you have the Pokemon, it's probably one of my most favorite to play. The fact that there's a league where I can run really off-meta stuff like TAPU BULU and a Shadow Tyranitar and still have some pretty nice success is an indication to me of a pretty healthy and thriving meta. The one thing I will say, this is not a team that I recommend for climbing. It's definitely just a team for fun. Like, I had good success with it, but still, there are a lot stronger options if you're looking to make a push for Elo. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.